Hey everybody, welcome
Brady
back
Snellis podcast.
What the fuck was that?
The real-time sound effects.
Jesus Christ. Sean, was that you?
What?
You're too prepared today. Anyways, welcome back to the JoBlo Movie Show Podcast. I'm a horn.
Oh, snap.
What is that sound? That sounds like a baby being tortured.
Whip, whip, whip.
We just lost like 20 listeners. They're like, I'm not listening to that
They're
shit.
gone.
You probably just caused a car accident. Somebody's like, oh, I can't wait to listen to the JoBlo Movie Show today. I got it playing here in my car. This is really great. It's going to be a nice little drive to... Fuck! Fuck those guys. Fuck JoBlo. Anyways, welcome to the show. I'm Paul Shirey. And we're joined with Chris Bumbray and a foghorn from Sean.
Hello.
Sean Wist.
I'm the foghorn.
Anyways, gentlemen, how are you guys doing today?
I'm really sad because I just got my press invite to XXX2 and I'm going to be out of town.
Oh,
I actually kind of
third movie
want to see it,
in
though.
the franchise, not XXX2.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, it's whatever it is. The Return
Yeah.
of Xander. I kind of wanted to see it, though, to be honest. I think I'll probably...
I want to see it, but I mean, I'm probably not going to go to the theater to see it.
Oh, I might. If it gets respectable reviews, I might go when I get back from Sundance. I don't know, on like a Monday afternoon, a lazy afternoon. Well, I work like a weird schedule, like 5 days. I'm usually off part of Monday, so I don't know. I might go see it. Maybe.
January is such a shit show of a month.
Well, this might be nice.
It's like
to go see
every
movies.
January, the movies that are out, I like don't give two shits about. I'd
Yeah.
probably never go to the movies in January unless I'm doing catch up or something.
Yeah,
or
it's a
taking my
good
kid to
catch-up
something.
month. That's what I'm doing right
Yeah.
now. So.
Well,
Yeah.
it's catch-up month for the award contenders, and those are the movies
Yes.
that you should be going to see.
Yes.
The stuff that opened limited release in December. I mean, I'm not going to go see Underworld. The only way I would have gone to have seen it is if I had to review it, and there weren't any early screenings, so I didn't have to do it. But
I've only seen the first two Underworlds. I don't have any desire to see any after
I
that.
like-
I love Kate Beckinsale. She's absolutely
especially in
beautiful,
that
and I love
leather
Rona Mitra,
outfit.
who I know is in one of them as well. But
the third.
just watching a beautiful woman in a movie,
Yeah.
unfortunately, is just not enough incentive for me to watch. Invest that time.
I enjoyed the first three actually for what they were, just as pure kind of trash cinema. But then the fourth, I only watched half of on TV one night, and I just thought it was terrible. And I've heard that the fifth is even worse, so I'm not going to bother.
Oh, so they're on number 5 now?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. I think
wow.
that's
Yeah,
what it
this is the fifth one. Surprisingly,
Well, I know what I'm
I know.
doing this month.
And it's funny.
not that rearranging my sock drawer.
I was reading that though that Screen Gems, even though the last one made the most money in the saga, something like 200 million
crazy.
worldwide, they cut the budget in half for this one, down to 35 million to make it as cheap as they could. I thought that's kind of interesting. And of course, it's not doing well. But there are a lot of good like catch-up movies out. Like, I mean, if you guys want to go see, I totally would recommend seeing Patriots Day. That's opening soon. That's expanding. That's definitely worth going to.
That's one I'll actually go see.
Yeah.
I forgot that one's coming out.
And I really liked 20th Century Women. I'd totally go see that. I think even if the title makes it a hard sell for you, I think you guys would probably really like it.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
you'd like it,
I'm
especially,
definitely on that
Paul.
one.
I think you'd like it too, Paul. I mean, like just after what you said last
I'm
week,
interested.
I
I'm
think you'd be
interested to
into
see it. Like I said on the last podcast, there was there's certain just stuff from the trailer that resonated with me. That I was like that.
Good
Sounds
date
like it might be
movie
interesting.
too. Good one to take your wife to maybe. And I like To Live by Night as well. So I mean, I go see that as well. The quality movies coming out. So
Yeah, good catch up stuff, but definitely
maybe,
the
yeah.
new entries not so. Not so
yeah,
much.
I could skip the next Resident Evil as well, and I haven't watched one of those in about. I think I've missed the last 3 or 4 installments, to be honest.
That just like Underworld. I saw the first two. I haven't seen any since.
Totally lost
I
track
just
of where
did
they
not.
are. Yeah.
And I heard Mia Jovovich does not go bottomless in any of the ones after. So why would I go?
I just don't understand
They
why.
set the bar pretty high in that first one. So
I'll never forget seeing that in the theater, and there was this group of like 12, 13-year-old kids sitting in front of me, and they probably like that was their sexual awakening. I remember looking. They were like, one of the kids turned to his friend, and he was, because when she falls down, it's like straight up, shaved vag shot, and he just looks at his friend, and he's like, "Did you see it? Did you see it?" And I was like, "Oh my god!"
The first,
But I mean,
interesting fact, I was one of those 12-year-olds.
Sean was like, "Jesus Christ, I need to get home.
Do you see?
I need to get home."
It was like that
right
scene from Event Horizon.
I don't think you understand what's happening in my pants right now.
It's funny.
I don't even understand it.
My first nude scene, I think, was probably when I saw not one that I performed.
Tell us
but
more
when
about
your
first nude scene.
Not one that I performed, but that I saw. I think it was probably Pump Up the Volume, that Christian Slater movie with Samantha Mathis when she went topless. I think that was probably the first one. The first time I saw full frontal, I think, was probably Rob Roy, though, Liam Neeson. I was really upset when I saw it when he got out of the water, because I was like, oh my god, are they supposed to be that big?
So upset.
No! That's how big they're supposed to be? Oh no! No!
That's messed up. Oh, it's crazy. Oh shit! Okay, we're having way too much fun.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of big penises coming out of the water,
Horsecock
last
Neeson.
night the Golden Globes were on. Nothing to do with it, but yeah, and a bunch of people won some golden trophies. And
Some
gave
totally
some dumbass speeches.
Oh my god!
Did
Some
you guys
people
watch
made.
the whole thing?
I did.
Yeah, I live tweeted the whole thing. Dude, god damn it, Sean.
I poked
Well,
in and out
clearly
on the
we know
tweet
who
Twitter.
didn't watch or pay attention.
I actually had a couple people over last night to watch it, but oh man, we were all laughing our asses off during the Tom Hiddleston speech.
I don't even remember his speech.
Oh man, I mean, he just goes on and he's like, and he goes, "I was traveling through Sudan."
Oh, he was like, that's right. He started talking
Les
about like
Médecins Sans Frontières, and they were all telling me about how they were embedded during this massive storm, and they binged on the Night Manager, and that's when I realized what we do really does make a difference. It was like Dirk Diggler talking about porn in Boogie Nights when he wins the award, and I was half expecting him to say, "Keep rocking and rolling," and doing karate kicks. He just came off as so sincere but so stupid. I like Hiddleston a lot, but it was just what a bad choice for a speech. And it's funny because if you look on Twitter, all the reaction shots that they've been doing GIFs of them, and Christian Slater's was really funny. As soon as he started mentioning his time in Sudan, Christian Slater's eyes get wide and he adjusts his glasses like he can't believe what he's hearing. Vince Vaughn looks like he's about
the touch.
Vince Vaughn looks like he's
You
about
got
to throw.
the power.
It was a Dirk Diggler moment, and Vince Vaughn like he's about to throw up, and Naomi Harris just looks like she's like, "You stupid man." I think he meant well, but oh my god, it was like a total Dirk Diggler moment.
Yep. It's very rare that any star gets up there and gives a speech that fits exactly what they're there for.
Oh, but I thought that Ryan Gosling did.
Every one of them gets up there typically, I'm not saying every time. Ryan Gosling's was well in line with what should be expected in a speech.
I thought he was
But you
terrific.
get too many people that get up there and start grandstanding about one thing or another, and they bring their own personal politics and everything else into it. And it's like, we're not watching you for this bullshit. Don't you make enough of these PSAs that we have to watch on YouTube like week to week? It's like, just get up there. Let's talk about the work. There's too many people that get up there and start grandstanding on some bullshit or another, and it's like, I don't fucking care. I don't fucking care.
I don't know. I mean, I was fine with them making. I mean, I guess because I'm in line with most of them politically. I did think though that the Streep speech, which is I think the one you're referring to, had more than a little bit of hubris attached to it. And I mean, I was watching it with my girlfriend, who's as liberal as they come, even more so than me, and she was annoyed by it because she was just a bunch of rich white people, right? And I don't know. It's
just rich people. I mean, now you're going against her story because she's talking about how everybody's a diverse in Hollywood. So the bottom line is, it was a bunch of bullshit. Like, we don't need to hear that stuff.
I was fine with it. I mean, I like the ending. I mean, but then again, I hate Trump.
I'm absolutely not a liberal, but I don't push out my politics anywhere because you guys don't want to hear that. People don't come to me. Well, some people might, but. Typically that's not who I am. You guys don't need to know that.
The only clip
I'm
I saw from last night's award ceremony was Kristen Wiig and Steve Carell presenting.
That was really funny. That was funny. That was pretty funny.
That was probably the funniest. Yeah, that was the funniest presentation. And then there was Sofia Vergara fake mispronouncing anal and anus for annual, which I thought was pretty funny just because it was kind of crass, but I could see how like everybody like later on was like, what the fuck? And then it was kind of ironic that she was having this mix up while presenting for the Miss Golden Globe, which was Sylvester Stallone's daughters. And I was like, that's kind of awkward that you're making an anal joke as you're introducing the Golden Globes girls.
poor
That's kind of weird.
Michael Keaton
Really
to
not well planned.
Hidden Fences.
That's so. You know what? That. I think that was an honest mistake, and I saw.
Oh
that,
yeah.
What's her face for Jenna? Damn it.
Jenna Bush.
Is it Jenna? Jenna Bush, yeah.
Not the cool Jenna Bush who used to write for JoBlo.com. Jenna Bush, the terrible entertainment
That's why
reporter.
I was trying to make sure that I clarified which one it was. But
she was the cool Jenna Bush was posting about how upset she is that people keep mistaking her for the clueless entertainment reporter.
Well, she gave an apology, which I don't really think was necessary.
No.
And I saw Al Roker was interviewing Mel Gibson and couldn't even remember the last movies he did, and I was like, and Mel Gibson's like, yeah, I did Braveheart, and he's like, oh yeah, that's right.
And somebody legit came up to Vince Vaughn and she was interviewing him. She's like, oh, what are you here for? And it's like, well, and he goes, well, I was in a movie that was nominated for Best Picture, Hacksaw Ridge.
You dumb motherfucker.
It's unbelievable though. Some of these people, like that's your job is to know who these fucking people are though.
Right, but here's
hard.
the thing. It is crazy on the red carpet.
Oh, sure.
I've worked the red carpet, and it is fucking nuts.
I know. I have to.
Like, they have reps that are just bringing people to you, like especially for a big event like that. Like for me, like the biggest thing that I've covered like that would be CinemaCon, where they have the press line. The last couple of years was for Warner Brothers press line. They're just bringing stars one after another, and your head is just spinning. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't know who you're going to get. You know, you have an idea who's going to be there. They give you the press sheet that says, hey, these are the people that are going to be there. But it's like, you don't have a huge amount of time to prepare questions, to prepare everything.
No,
so
you don't.
You got to be fast. You got to be on your toes, and you got to be as informed as possible. And I see other journalists like genuinely like freaking out over it. Like they're like flipping through that sheet like crazy. Like, oh my God, who's this? What do they do? And like a lot of them, it's like that's their profession, you know, is to interview. They're not fans. They're people that do interviews. Whereas, you know, guys like us, you know, we're fans, we're nerds.
We are, so we know everything they've done.
We're actually a lot more informed.
Yeah.
But the trade-off is we're not always as, I guess, presentation-wise, we're not super dressed up. And I mean, I hesitate to use the word phony, but I'm going to say that, and you know what I mean, where they're just very like, they're animated. You know what I'm saying? Like they got this energy.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I always try to tone it down a bit, just as opposed to them, because I've done a couple of them. I mean, I always wear a jacket and tie, but I always try to bring it down a bit. It's funny though.
For your next time, I want you wearing a toupee, and I want a different
toupee. It's funny, Chris,
like an elaborate
like you
one.
say you tone it down, and I know you mean that, but like the last interview I saw you in was with Tom Cruise, and at the end you're like, "You're the greatest."
I
love you.
It was when I say tone it down though. I mean, I like not like the entertainment reporters though. They never would say they love him, and I did love him. I do love him. And he loves
Tom,
me.
Just let me cut your hand real quick. I just want to drink some of your blood.
Do you want me? If you want me to start wearing toupees, though, I'll do it if JoBlo pays for them. But I want elaborate toupees.
No. You just wear what the fuck I give you.
Ones that are not realistic at all. Like
can we just order the Nicolas Cage collection for Chris?
Oh yeah, I'd like to wear. I'd only wear the Con Air one. Yeah, the Con Air one every time I would go.
Yes.
And I want you to have like some little mini fans on your jacket that blows the hair back.
Yeah.
So you got some Beyonce action.
Something really classy.
Yeah. Or with an undershirt tucked into my jeans and that hair.
So given that we've talked about everything about the Golden Globes except like the winners and all that stuff, do you guys put much stock into who wins, who loses?
No.
Do you care much
the
about
Golden
that?
Globes? Not at all. Because you know why? Because being at TIFF, I've dealt with the Hollywood Foreign Press a lot. I've met a lot of their people, and I really couldn't care less about who they vote for, because the Hollywood Foreign Press, they'll vote for you if you come to their parties and you take selfies with them, you'll probably get voted for. I don't know, the Hollywood Foreign Press, if you ever go to the press junkets, the press conferences they have at TIFF, where it's mostly the Hollywood Foreign Press asking questions, it's unbelievable. Like, Tom, what's your favorite color? You know, like it's that. Well, like they made fun of it, and they made fun of it in Somewhere, the Sofia Coppola movie with Steven Dorff, where everybody's just asking him, "Hey, how'd you work out? You know, what was your workout routine? What was your workout routine? What's your hair like? Who does your hair? You know, it's just stupid, shitty questions like that."
All
so
right,
no, I don't put any stock.
Let's run down just real quick, and we'll just do a.
Do you put any stock into it though, Paul?
No, I honestly, like, I live tweet the awards just because it's my job, and I do enjoy it, but I enjoy it mostly just
as a show,
kind of be like that, to be like that drunken voice that's like kind of saying what everybody's really thinking, and then also to inform people that can't be at home watching it. So I let people know the winners as they're announced.
Yeah,
so.
it's a show,
but I treat it as like a fun thing for people to engage with, just because everybody's kind of like logging in at the same time. But I can say without question, I fucking hate award shows. I think they're bullshit.
I agree. Even the
and
Oscars.
There was a time, like when I was in college, I used to love the Oscars, man. Like I would have Oscar parties, and I kind of like
I always have an Oscar party. I have an Oscar
and
party.
And now I'm like, how like the Oscars is Hollywood rewarding itself.
Oh, I agree.
How it does in no way does it represent the general movie-going public's favorites of the year.
No.
And what happens is people watch it, they get pissed off, like, what the fuck is this Moonlight shit? And they're like, I've never even heard of it. And it's like, well, that's because it's Hollywood rewarding itself. They're not rewarding what you care about. They're rewarding what they care about.
No, but it should be the quality. It should be what the best movie is. But the thing is, if you run down the best picture winners, even from the last 10 years,
they're mostly fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's never the best movie of the year. I mean, I remember when Children of Men wasn't even nominated in 2006. You know, it was kind of gross. You know, or Chicago winning. I mean, who's ever watched Chicago twice? You know, I mean, it's
not me.
Oh man,
I saw it once at the theater. Though.
I mean, Crash winning too is another one. I mean,
Crash. Really
over Brokeback Mountain. You know, I mean, and there were a bunch of other good movies too that were nominated that year. It's just, oh my god.
Yeah, just to throw in my 2 cents, why I brought up, it's like I'm in that kind of weird middle ground. Like I don't care. Well, I say I don't care that much. I generally don't watch most awards shows. And I forget about it, you know, a year down the road, like most people do. But like Academy Awards, like I do tend to get a little defensive. Like even looking at the list for the Golden Globes, like I did this morning, I was like, oh, that one over that or something like that. And I still can't help but get a little bit fired up too. So not to sound hypocritical, but it's like kind of, you know.
I understand that, and I agree to a point, because I think that it's the same thing as somebody, you know, presenting like, oh, I think these are all the best. It's the whole list drama once again, you know, somebody saying, hey, these are all the best ones. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and even though it really doesn't fucking matter in any way, shape, or form based on what your opinion is, it's just that somebody is saying in a big, broad canvas that these are the best. So in that way, it kind of feels like it mitigates your opinion in a way.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Yeah, because it's almost like, all right, well, this is the best one, and that's it.
And it shouldn't necessarily be people in that.
It tries to be
industry.
definitive when there really is no definitive,
No, and it's
which
people,
we'll talk about later today.
And it's people that are in that industry that are making the call for what's the best thing. And shouldn't it be the viewers, the people that are actually paying to see the movies, that are the ones that tell you what the best is?
That's why I watch the MTV Movie Awards.
I like the MTV Movie Awards sometimes. They get it right sometimes, but I don't know. I do get defensive about the Oscars too. But, you know, speaking for the Golden Globes this year, though, I wasn't particularly upset at any of the winners. And I was actually kind of happy that Isabelle Huppert won for Elle. And I was happy that Gosling won.
I was surprised that Elle won Best Foreign Language Picture, too.
I wasn't. I mean, to me, that was the only one that made sense. I don't think it's not going to be nominated for Best Foreign Film at the Oscars, though, because it didn't even make the short list.
Yeah, I'll say that the Crown winning Best TV Series Drama was bogus.
Yeah, that was my bogus. Only upset. Yeah, that Westworld is like the best show I've seen in years, and like
really, if Westworld, Thrones, or Stranger Things should have taken it, The Crown is like, who the fuck watched it besides Chris Bumbray? Nobody.
I liked The Crown, but it didn't deserve to win Best Show, and it was the same thing with Claire Foy too, winning it. It was.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a little bit.
That was another one that I felt was a big fucking rob. Was Claire Foy winning, because
I thought Evan Rachel Wood might win. I was kind of hoping she'd win.
Well,
I didn't think she'd win, but I was hoping she'd win.
What's her face? Yeah, Evan Rachel Wood. She should have won, but also in the supporting actress category.
Oh, Tandy Newton, I thought was going to take it.
Tandy Newton should have fucking taken that. She's
Olivia
amazing.
Colman winning for The Night Manager. I mean, she was good, but it was just like, really.
But I did like Sarah Paulson winning for People vs. O.J. Simpson. I thought she was amazing.
Me too, yeah. I thought she was really good.
Great work.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Outside of that, man, like, La La Land did a sweep, and I tried watching La La Land this weekend with a screener, and I didn't really get into it. I need to go see it.
You need to see it in the theater, and it's opening in IMAX as well. If you could go see it on IMAX, you should. It's not the same movie when you're watching it at home as opposed to the theater. Yeah. It's one of those things you kind of have to surrender to.
I did watch Manchester by the Sea, and I did think that was a good film. It was a very tough film. It was not what I expected. I thought it was really great, but I don't know that I'd ever watch it again. But it was definitely a very compelling. I thought Casey Affleck was great, but
I've watched Manchester,
and I was glad
by the
that he won. But at the same time, I I don't know. I guess out of those choices, he was probably the best. He was the best one.
I've watched Manchester by the Sea 3 times this year.
I actually am contemplating seeing that a second time in theaters.
Yeah.
I really loved it.
I loved it too. I loved it enough. I watched it 3 times. But it's funny. I was really happy La La Land took it. I thought that the Best Actress category, though, was much stronger. Best Actress Drama than Best Actor Drama. Casey Affleck, to me, was the only choice that really made sense. Best Actress Drama, though, there were a lot of really good contenders. Ruth Negga as well for Loving. Amy Adams for Arrival. I mean, that was a really good category. Even Natalie Portman for Jackie. Best Actress, I'm happy it was in a comedy musical. I'm happy it was Emma Stone. I feel Meryl Streep must get annoyed being every year she has to kind of block out January and February because it's like, oh, it's awards time. She probably can't film anything during January or February.
So tough for Meryl Streep.
I know. She just has to go, and it's just like, fuck, leave me alone. She's probably going to
tell you a movie she's not going to be doing. She won't be starring in any MMA movies ever.
Oh, whatever. That's too bad. That role will go to Helen Mirren. She could probably nail it, actually.
She could do it.
Yeah, she could. It's funny though. I have to say, I know you guys love Deadpool, but I was very happy that Gosling won over Ryan Reynolds for Deadpool. I would have been very upset if he'd won.
I didn't love Deadpool, but I was glad it was nominated. I thought that was really cool.
Oh, I would have had a hard time with him winning for that.
When they said Ryan, I thought it was going to be Ryan Reynolds, and I got excited. And then they said Gosling, I was like, oh.
I don't know. I just felt they were saying it was a daring and boldly original take on the superhero, and it's just, I don't know. He broke the fourth wall. People have been breaking the fourth wall for years, though. Back to Hope and Crosby for the road movies. Wayne's World did it. I mean, it's. Yeah,
but you have you ever read a Deadpool comic?
Yeah, parts of one.
Parts of one issue? Shut the fuck up.
Why don't you make it really daring then?
I've read pages 3, 7,
why
and 12.
don't you make a Deadpool?
Why don't you just admit you don't know shit about Deadpool,
okay, but I've read that Deadpool is occasionally bisexual, though.
I read the one, that one comic, the one that's, he's got the red costume, right?
If they did, okay, but I've read that Deadpool is occasionally bisexual, though. Is that true, or he's pansexual, right?
He's like yeah.
Well, if they did that in one of the movies, then I would say it was daring. Then I would be like,
give me a break. Just changing sexuality it makes it daring.
But you've never had any superhero though in a mainstream film that was even close to being on that spectrum, though. So if they were to do that, it would be.
I don't think you should give an award just because you have.
No, but I would find the performance daring, though. But I would be more inclined to agree with people when they called that performance daring. I'm not saying good, but daring.
Who said it was daring?
They said that at the Globes last night when they were producing. When they were showing the clips.
That's just PR bullshit.
They're like, it's a bold and daring take on this. Anyway, whatever.
Listen, some asshole just wrote that for Gyllenhaal to go up there and say. That doesn't necessarily make it true. It would have been nice for him to win because this is a role that he has basically created and he's made his own in a way, and it's no other actor could have done that. I don't think there's any other actor that could have done it the way that he did it. The guy was born for the role. So you could say, well, you want to give him an award just because he owns this role? It's like, well, yeah, why not? You gave an award to fucking Sylvester Stallone because he owned Rocky. Like, fucking yeah, why not? I mean, they give out awards for pretty stupid fucking reasons anyways. And again, this is kind of why I fucking hate award shows.
Yeah.
Because
everybody's got their opinion. I thought I was chuckling, though, at Chris Pine and Jake Gyllenhaal both had on their serious actor beards last night.
Always makes me happy because I normally rock a beard, so I'm like, okay, so I don't feel like a homeless person so bad because everybody in Hollywood's rocking a fucking beard everywhere.
Pines though had like a little gray. I think that he probably had dyed.
He has the exact same thing that I get. I get like these gray fangs that come down on like gray mutton chops. It's very distinct.
I know not of these beards of which you speak.
Sean tries to grow. He's like standing in the mirror, like.
If you look at my profile picture, that's about 3 months working right there. So
it doesn't look like you have. Are you like one of those guys that never has to shave?
Pretty much.
If I go a week without shaving, I'm Peter Sarsgaard in the interview that I did with him. I asked him. I was like, "Hey, cool beard. Is that for a role?" And he's no.
No.
But he was really cool. I was like, "Oh no, what did I say?" He was actually really funny.
All right, enough of this Golden Globes bullshit. Let's move on.
Oh, speaking of Golden Globes, one thing I want to say, and I'm probably going to get into trouble for this.
I said we were moving on.
I thought that Brie Larson looked amazing.
She is amazing. It's Captain Marvel, by the way.
If you were to tell me that she didn't look amazing at some point, then that would be some news. I'd be like, what?
Okay, so moving on. We have some movement on Shane Black's Predator, which is some interesting casting choices. Keegan-Michael Key is joining the cast, as well as Moonlight's Trevante Rhodes, which is very interesting. Just kind of, not so much with Trevante Rhodes, because, he's, like a young up-and-coming actor. You can see that. But Keegan-Michael Key is a kind of a strange addition, because he's very much kind of the funny man.
Yeah.
Joining what we would assume is going to be, kind of bloody, gory, cool action flick take on the Predator from Shane Black. So I thought it was I think it's cool. I'm just very curious what direction they're going to go with him, because that brings up a lot of questions in terms of tone for the film.
He can do drama though. Have you seen that new movie, the Mike Birbiglia movie? Don't.
I know what you're talking about.
Don't.
The one where he's like it's basically like an SNL kind of story.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Where he's like a comedian and that like kind of rises to fame. I can't remember.
And he's pretty good in that because it's a fairly serious part. It's Don't Think Twice.
Right.
But I think he'll be the comic relief though, probably.
Right. Well, I mean, in a way, like Shane Black himself was the comic relief in the first Predator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of humor in that film, so it makes.
Yeah. So I could see it. I just think it's very interesting, and it kind of comes out of the blue. But Keegan-Michael Key's been making some good moves since their show ended.
Yeah,
Key and Peele.
They both have actually. So Jordan Peele's movie Get Out apparently is really good. I've heard rumblings that might be the secret screening at Sundance this year, and
Sean's very excited for that.
I've heard it's really good
to see that.
Yeah,
movie.
I've heard it's really good, and
I'm curious about it. It looks
Trevante Rhodes
very
though. I'm excited about because I thought he was fantastic in Moonlight. He's got the build of an action star. So I could see him like I'm kind of almost more excited about him being in that movie than Boyd Holbrook is, because I don't know, I find he's a pretty badass looking guy, and I think he'd make a great action hero. I mean, he's built.
I think people are gonna really warm up to Holbrook after Logan.
Yeah, maybe.
I think they'll really like it. No, they will.
Well, not to mention
pretty cool
Shane Black. He knows how to cast a fucking movie.
He does.
I mean,
yes, he does.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's not somebody that approaches a project thinking, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Somebody please just cast a bunch of motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely has an idea. He didn't say, Keegan-Michael Key, sure, yeah, we'll take him, I guess. I'm sure it was a very, thought out decision.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, I think it's interesting, and it's interesting seeing that project come together, and they start shooting pretty soon. Should be earlier, February, March, they're supposed to start shooting, so
nice.
Maybe we'll get a set visit invite. That would be pretty sweet. And I'm taking that one, so everybody just shut the fuck up.
God.
Sorry.
No. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm a huge Shane Black fan, and I almost interviewed him last year at CinemaCon, and I kept motioning to his rep, like, hey man, I want to talk to Shane Black. And these other reps, like I said, is like fierce on that red carpet, and they were just like shoving people to me, like just bringing me one person after another. And then you don't just put somebody in front of you and then you'd be like, oh no, I don't want to talk to you. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to talk to Shane Black. You don't want to be rude, but I ended up missing Shane Black as a result. And I was like, fuck.
I hope
Who did you have to interview and miss Shane Black?
What's his nuts from Suicide Squad?
Jai Courtney?
Captain Boomerang. Yeah, Jai Courtney.
Oh, really? I just picked out who's the most boring guy from that cast.
No, he was fine. He was totally cool, but it was like I was trying to get Shane Black. Because that's who I really wanted to talk to out of all the people there, and I didn't get him.
I hope you guys give me the chance to further my relationship with Tom Cruise now that him and I are friends.
Now that you guys are best buds, you can fly airplanes and go scuba diving together and shit.
Ride Ducati motorcycles.
And you're gonna go to church together.
Ride Ducati motorcycles.
All right, so moving on from there, this is an interesting topic, I think, and we've actually had some questions about this, so we'll roll this into our questions. So we all know that Carrie Fisher passed away.
No, really?
And her work on episode 8 is complete.
Yep.
So they say. But apparently she had a bigger part to play in episode 9. But obviously she's dead. So that gives us gives the filmmakers, rather, not us, we ain't got nothing to do with it, but it gives the filmmakers some unique challenges in what they'll do. So they could potentially recast the role completely, such as the way they did for Dumbledore in the Harry Potter films.
They would never do that, and they shouldn't.
Or they could do that fucking monstrosity of CGI disgustingness that they did with Rogue One.
And
they should also
fortunately-
not do
and
that.
I hate that I have to
turn her
say
into
this,
the
but
Polar
fortunately,
Express.
they're probably not going to do that out of respect. Which they shouldn't do it because it looks fucking terrible, in my opinion. But
well, they did it in Rogue One, though, while she was alive.
yeah, but she okayed that. She was there to see it, and Kathleen Kennedy said, "Oh yeah, we spoke to Carrie and showed it, and Carrie loved it and all that bullshit." But I think
She
now
probably
that
didn't
she's
really give a
dead,
shit.
yeah, she probably didn't care. To be honest, she probably wouldn't care if they did it now. But out of respect, I don't think they'll do that. Thank God.
I think the only
The
way
only people that will care is us, is the fucking nerds that watch this shit.
I think the only
We're
way
the only ones that will care.
I think the only way you can actually do it though is just to kill off Princess Leia. I think she has to die. I think they have to do it in a
She
classy
has to
way.
die.
No, but they have to do it in a classy
Bitch, you
way.
got to die.
No, but they have to do it in a classy way, in a sophisticated way, in a way that would make sense to the storyline. I think it would be a huge mistake to recast Princess Leia. It'd be like recasting Han Solo. It's just unthinkable at this point. It's like
How's she gonna die
recasting.
classy?
Yeah, it's like like.
I hope I die classy, like in a nice evening dress.
I just don't think you
Pearl
can
necklace.
recast that role. It's like, let's say Mark Hamill decided to drop out. Who can we get to play Luke Skywalker? Yeah,
I'll play Luke Skywalker.
It's just I
do it.
can't see it happening. I think they'd have to kill the character off. Or
I
write her out
agree with
somehow.
Chris. I'm not against recasting, and
No, I think
but
it'd
in
be a
this
big
case, she's
mistake.
just too much of an icon. And considering what happened, it's not going to happen.
I couldn't imagine any really respectable actress even wanting to take on that part. I mean, it'd be hard. To,
Meryl Streep.
she wouldn't do it.
Meryl Streep.
Star Wars would
Meryl Streep
finally
for
get a
everything.
nomination for
Meryl Streep
actress.
is going to play Ronda Rousey in the Ronda Rousey biopic.
She could do it.
Fighters.
And then Ronda Rousey will play Leia in episode 9. Because, if she
Hey.
keeps getting her ass kicked like she is, she's going to look like her. So
Hey, totally off topic. Remember when everybody wanted Gina Carano to play Wonder Woman?
I agree.
That would have been a terrible, terrible fucking decision. Anyways, as far as for me, I don't know, man. I think it's a tough thing no matter any way you slice it. I know Colin Trevorrow is going to have. He's got some serious decisions to make at this point. My thing is, I would probably write the part down in episode 9 and shoot something. Try and find a way that you can close it out.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be opposed to using that CGI thing if you did it minimalist.
Oh,
you know
you
what I'm
shut
saying? Like
Your mouth.
minimalist.
Shirey.
Minimalist. But here's the thing: you can't just cut to episode 9 and just not show her. And just be like, "Oh yeah,
I agree.
She died."
You know what I think they're going to
dead.
do? I think they're going to rewrite a little bit of episode 8 and have her killed off in some way.
Yeah. And that's fine.
Yeah, that could work. That's
A
a
little
good.
bit. She's in a building, it gets bombed. Oh well,
They've done stuff though. When Oliver Reed died during Gladiator, they used
That
CGI
was-
to finish off his
yeah, it was
performance.
minimal.
Well, and and they
And it
did the
came
same
off
thing
okay.
for The Crow with Brandon Lee. They
Even
kind of repurposed his face and put it on another actor's body and made it work.
and I've been
I
watching.
think they could do it. They did the same thing with Fast and Furious when Paul Walker died.
And I've been
Yeah, but
rewatching.
that was
the-
pretty awkward. Yeah, it did because he was like, what is he looking at?
Yeah.
It's like really very off-putting.
I've been rewatching The Sopranos though. They did it with Olivia as well, Olivia Soprano and Nancy Marchand. And I don't know. I mean, you could do it in a good way. It is true though. There were some weird parts of Fast 7 or whatever it is. Furious 7 is it?
Yeah, it's fast. Yeah, it's the 7th one.
It was that there were some weird parts in that though, where it was kind of like, oh, this is a.
It was just the
strange
ending,
scene.
though. It was, from my understanding,
Yeah.
it was just the very end.
Well, no,
that last
there's
scene.
some
There's
other
a
parts
bunch of
too.
other parts when they're
Is
in the
there
plane.
more?
When
I
they're in the
never
plane
noticed.
talking, that's a weird scene. There's something
Or
going
when
on
they're
there.
in their car jumping through the buildings in Dubai. Like, check out Paul Walker do that entire scene. It was not him. It's pretty great.
I guess I didn't pay as much attention. I was just looking at the boom boom explosions.
Yeah.
Well, I think no matter which way they go for Leia in episode 8 and 9, or in 9 specifically, I think no matter what, it's going to be awkward.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't foresee a way that they do this without it being recognizable, and I guess it's just the way it goes. But they could certainly make it less of a disaster. You know what I'm saying? But they've definitely got their work cut out for them. But
No
I don't
doubt.
really have any specific die hard. They must do it this way or that way. I think a lot of it is going to be contingent on the story itself.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the tricky part. I would be more concerned with the story than how you're going to present Leia later.
Mm-hmm.
That's my take.
I agree.
All right.
All right. So Ridley Scott doesn't like superheroes.
Does not like superhero movies.
That's fine. He's
Cool.
entitled to his opinion.
I don't disagree. You know, Ridley is a guy that has given us a shit ton of really great films and a couple mediocre ones.
Yes.
But he's a guy that he knows his sensibilities, you know, and I think that he's got some pretty valid points.
Yeah, I agree.
Like he says, cinema mainly is pretty bad. I don't know that I agree with that unequivocally, but at the same time, I get what he's saying.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of movies that come out every year, a lot, and
A lot of them are bad. A lot of them are very
the vast
bad.
majority are forgettable.
Yeah.
Like you may watch, you know, many of them, and you'd be like, oh, it was pretty good, it was fun, but it's not memorable. It doesn't leave a lasting impact, and you know, you usually like it for one specific reason or another, not as a whole. So I think there's some validity in that. He says, you know,
Not every movie can be The Legend of Tarzan.
oh god, that was so serviceable. It's not even funny.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's the perfect word to describe that movie.
He also says, you know, I hope it doesn't affect those of us who still keep making smart films. Now, I have to take a little issue with Ridley on this because on the whole, yes, I think he makes pretty smart films. But Prometheus, while I do love it, is probably like one of the dumbest fucking movies.
Yeah.
In terms of like the characters and their motivations and what they do. Like scientists that just land on this new planet they know absolutely nothing about. And without even, like, they haven't even fucking landed yet. And they're like, let's get on our spacesuits and head on out there. And I'm like, bro, we haven't even taken any fucking readings or anything. Like, maybe we should just land, you know, take our scientific readings, kind of get our bearings here. And he's like, no. Everybody get your shit on. I'm a scientist. We're going out there. Look at that. God didn't make that. We're going over there. We're just going to go in.
You know what
Let's
I
go.
think some of the issue is,
Who the fuck does that?
Like, I really like Prometheus, and I defend a lot of its thing. I don't defend that the characters make some stupid fucking decisions in that movie. But I think, especially having watched Alien last night, I think since Ridley Scott has done this before, it's like, all right, scientists land and we show blah, 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 blah. He kind of gets bored with showing it and glosses over it. Yeah. And he was more concerned about like the bigger themes of the film, like, oh, where did we come from as a species? And he kind of just glossed over the actual science of some of the scenes, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, all right, I've done a space landing. They land. Let's get them out there and, you know,
they land. Yeah, let's go. Exactly. Yeah.
But,
you know, what you could have done is like had them. There's just so many ways you could have done it to just show the passage of time rather than, and it just makes you hate the lead scientist guy, and you know, just pretty happy that he gets the fate that he gets.
Yeah, I
agree.
agree.
You're just like, fuck this guy, man. He's about the dumbest motherfucker ever. How did he even get on this spaceship?
I think
like he is a moron.
I think people though are a little bit, you know, are taking it a little too hard though. What Ridley Scott said, like, you know, whatever. He's entitled to his opinion. If you don't agree with him, you don't agree with him. It's fine.
Well, you know, and what it comes down to too is that, filmmakers and stars making bold statements like that and kind of talking about basically their peers in public is always a little tricky.
Yeah,
and,
I'd agree.
Puts people off. But at the same time, you know that Ridley Scott does not go to the movies and walk out of the movie and just not say a fucking word.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's got his friends and family, whoever he goes and sees it with. He probably walks out, you know, he's like, oh, I just saw Monster Trucks. Like, that was a real piece of fucking shit. Like, I was a terrible fucking movie. But he's not going on Twitter and he's not going on to the Today Show and talking about it. You know, it's just like, you know, between friends and family. So these guys have opinions. They are entitled to have opinions. But I think what ends up happening is when they share them publicly, it's always a little off-putting.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people take it the wrong way and they don't take into account that, hey, you know, they are allowed to have opinions and you, of course, are allowed to disagree with them. But I guess on a professional standpoint, a lot of people view it as, well, maybe these guys shouldn't be doing that. And I guess I would agree to a point.
Whatever. He's made enough.
You know,
he's made enough great movies that, you know, he could do whatever he wants, really, and he can have whatever opinion he wants, and he can express it if he wants.
But I will say this: I would love to see a Ridley Scott superhero movie. His take, his vision, I'd be totally down to see that.
He's not going to do it though.
He's not. But if he did, I would be totally hip to it. And I always felt like when I saw the first X-Men in 2000, you know, I was very underwhelmed because I'd read the comics, and the comics are like galaxy and time spanning, and the X-Men movie felt very confined. And I was like, this does not feel like X-Men. X-Men are, they should feel like a global out to the fucking cosmos. They should feel huge, large. It should be epic in scope. And I just kept thinking, like, you need a filmmaker that can do that. And I kept thinking Ridley Scott. So
it's
Ridley
funny.
Scott's X-Men is what I wanted to see.
It's funny you bring up the first X-Men movie. I haven't seen it in a while, but like I remember it coming out and it getting a lot of praise simply because it didn't suck. Like that's what it's known for.
That's
it's like
true.
This is a comic book movie that
true.
doesn't suck, and like that and Spider-Man, helped pave the way for what we have now. But yeah, I always thought that about the first one in particular. It's like, well, people like it because it doesn't suck, and
yeah, it was like a really good launching point because it showed that you could do those themes and not be completely cheesy and silly and stupid. But they still played it safe with the costumes. Like everybody looked like the Matrix and all that other shit. So it was a step in the right direction that has led to where we are now, which is, very good. But I don't know, looking back at X-Men in 2000 and saying, oh, this was a great fucking movie. I think you need to have your head examined because it's not a great movie. It's got some entertainment value. It's got certain characters that I think shine more than others, especially Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. But overall,
it's a hard movie to rewatch. I mean, I rewatched it not long ago, and it's
very
tough, very
like,
uneven.
The effects are pretty cheesy.
Oh, and they've also got like that Mystique Wolverine fight that was clearly they were trying to be like the Matrix, right? So they've got the wire work. And it's just
it was
God. You watch it now, and it's like it says fight scenes choreographed by Corey Yen, and it's like, well, it's not every movie. I remember they went through that period though after the Matrix where every film had like a Hong Kong fight choreographer come on, and they were doing wire work. Fuck, some of those were so bad. I mean, I remember Romeo Must Die, especially that Jet Li one where where they're just doing bullshit, insane stuff to make it look like it's bullet time. Oh, that's just so stupid.
All right, so that's enough for the news. Chris, we got a couple movies coming out.
Well, I'm going to start with Monster Trucks because silence leads into our little discussion. So
okay, that sounds good.
Monster Trucks.
Let's do that then.
Going into it on Saturday morning, it was a Saturday morning screening, which I always hate because I'm a working boy, I have a job, and I like to sleep in on Saturday mornings. But I got this fucking ball busting editor. His name was Paul Shirey, and he's just like, hey, and he's like, hey, yo, bitch, go cover Monster Trucks, and I'm like, yes, sir. But no, I actually
editor-in-chief.
Yes. Oh yeah. Anyways, I was dreading Monster Trucks. In fact, I was bitching about it all week to my girlfriend, who agreed after lots of prodding to come with me. I was bitching about it all week, and we went to see it. And surprisingly enough, it wasn't terrible. I didn't hate it. It was a solid kids movie. I mean, it's stupid, but
9 on 10.
It was going to be but it's a 6 on 10 though. My girlfriend liked it a lot. She thought the monsters were cute, and that's the whole point of the movie. It's not a horrible movie. It's well enough put together. I mean, I don't think it was ever going to make. I don't know why they spent $115 million on it. I think it's going to be a huge flop. And there are things about it that are stupid. I mean, for one thing, that guy Lucas Till.
What?
Lucas Till, the guy Young MacGyver, whatever
MacGyver.
it is.
Just call him MacGyver.
Young MacGyver. Faux MacGyver. He's 27. He's 27 though. This guy.
Does he have a celery stalk between his ass cheeks?
No, they should have though. But he's 27. This guy, and he looks it, and he's supposed to be playing a 16-year-old without a driver's license.
What?
Yes.
He's supposed to be 16 in the movie?
Yes, he's him and Jane Levy.
No.
And Jane Levy's a year older than him. She's like 28, and they're both supposed to be 16-year-olds, high schoolers. And the weirdest thing about it, though, is that Jane Levy and Lucas Till both look like they're in their mid to late 20s. But the other kids in their high school are all like legit 16-year-olds.
They're like midgets.
Lucas Till's
What's up, young dudes?
Lucas Till's best friend.
You guys want me to buy you some beer?
Lucas Till's best friend in the movie looks like his son. It's really weird, and it's very, and he's so, and Lucas Till is supposed to be bullied too, but he's chiseled, right? He's got like this square jaw and this perfect hair, and a 6-pack. It's just, and he's like 10 years older than all the other kids in the school. I mean,
who bullies him? Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Chris, you sold the movie to me. Now I want to see it.
Yeah.
It's like Step Brothers then.
Yeah, it's
Get over here and eat that white dog crap.
But when it's trucks racing around, it's not bad, and Rob Lowe is the villain, and there's the supporting cast is surprisingly not bad. Barry Pepper, who I haven't seen in ages, is in it. Amy Ryan has one scene and is billed third, and she has one scene. She's in it for a second, and she's billed third.
Ooh?
Amy Ryan.
Oh.
And whatever. I was entertained by it. I have to say, I don't think I'd ever watch it again or anything. But it was a decent enough kids movie. I know your son wanted to see it, Paul, and it wouldn't be absolute torture for you to sit through. It would be okay. I'm not recommending it, mind you, but I'm saying it's fine for kids. If I take my kids
to see that and it's torture, I'm gonna make you review all the Tyler Perry Madea movies from now on.
You see, the thing is, though, the good thing about that is those actually don't open in Montreal, so.
We will fly you to the United States to watch that shit.
I'll have to drive to Burlington to go see them.
I don't know, Paul. The way he's describing the high school scenes, that'd be worth it. The price of admission.
Yeah, alone. I don't know. It does sound like pretty stupid fun.
Yeah,
so I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
If my sock drawer is rearranged and taken care of by the weekend, then maybe.
Oh, and Jane Levy. I was about to say John Levy. Jane Levy is the geeky girl.
Topless?
Geeky girl that none of the guys want to date.
Yeah, right.
And she's gorgeous.
That's like the biggest batch of bullshit.
Yeah, she's gorgeous in it. And Lucas Till the whole time.
She's beautiful. Come on.
Yeah, she is. And the whole time Lucas Till's like, ugh, she won't leave me alone. Like he's so repelled by her.
A 16-year-old, I don't want nothing to do with her.
It's this beautiful, strawberry blonde girl, this perfect face.
Disgusting.
She's this angelic face, and it's like, ugh, she won't leave me alone.
Get your shit out of my shit. Jesus.
I would have loved it though if they had sex.
Have you guys seen Not Another Teen Movie?
Yes.
I actually think that movie is brilliant.
When she takes off, when she's like, "How are we gonna ever make this girl over?" and she just takes her glasses off and lets her hair down. Whoa!
It's so true. It's so true of every movie. The bottom line is, and I actually went to high school, and I can't imagine much has changed in that regard. In that guys and girls at the same time too. It's not just guys are all looking to have sex with each other.
Yes,
they're in that exploratory phase. It's the very beginning, and they're not like exactly choosy.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Like Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink would be a hot property no matter how many silly clothes and hats she wears in that high school.
Even that horrible even that horrible dress that she makes at the end that's supposed to be amazing. That looks terrible.
Yeah, nobody can. They just want to rip that thing off anyways. I mean,
yeah, nobody cares what
that shit's
the best.
Like, oh, you made that? I can't wait to. Does it have Velcro in it? Like, I just want to rip it off.
Do you guys ever see the Brady Bunch movie?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Well, when Marcia is really upset about catching the football in the face because her nose is broken, and then she's like, oh, she's trying to hide it, and then she shows him, and then he's like, nah, it's okay. Her nose isn't what I'm looking at. It's very clear. He's just talking about having sex with her, and the dad's like, that's a fine young man.
That movie is actually hilarious. I really like it.
I think
it is hilarious.
Both Brady Bunch really movies are actually really, really good.
They are really funny.
Very, very funny. More fun. They're funnier than they deserve to be.
Moving on to Silence, though. Okay, Silence is one I have complicated feelings for.
Let's make it quick, Bumbray.
Well, when I was watching it, it's a tough movie to watch. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and I got really mad at you guys because you guys said you thought it would be a tough slog. And I got really mad saying that, no, it's going to be a masterpiece, and fuck both of you. Okay, you guys were right in this case. It was a tough slog to get through.
So it was the Kundu version.
Yeah,
it's a punishing film.
No, what did you say before that?
You were right. However, it's still a good film. But when I saw it, I went home and I wrote my review because you needed it for Thursday morning. Fair enough. And I gave it a 7 on 10. And I was like, it's a good movie, but it's not an entertaining one. Blah, blah, blah. The more I thought about it, the more I liked it. And it's funny, my buddy who I went to see it with was coming out of it telling me he hated it. But then the next morning he wrote me back and he's like, oh no, I was really too hard on it and I was thinking about it more. And it actually is a really good movie. And I kind of came around to feeling the same way after I wrote my review, and I haven't, corrected it or anything like that, but I would probably knock it up a notch. And I find it's one of those movies, it's a tough movie to have a knee-jerk reaction to. I mean, it's a beautifully composed movie. Every scene in it looks like, it could be, it's just perfectly composed, right? And the acting is terrific. Scorsese could have made it a lot easier on his audience, though. It could have had a musical score. There is a musical score, but it's played so low that you can't hear it, that it's almost subliminal. It's punishingly long. It's 40 minutes too long. Easily.
Is it by Major Lazer?
No, it's not by Major Lazer. It would have been cool if it was, though, with Bieber doing the feet, Justin Bieber. But No, but it was.
But imagine it with a major laser score now.
But it was kind of, it's an intriguing film, and it has some heavy issues. It's the Scorsese of Kundun, probably, though, more so than The Last Temptation of Christ, because The Last Temptation of Christ is a very stirring film and a very entertaining film too. I wouldn't say that Silence was entertaining or even stirring in the same way. It has some interesting themes, though. I guess it's kind of an interesting counterpoint to Last Temptation of Christ, because Last Temptation of Christ is what's the cost of being a martyr. Silence is what's the cost of making other people martyrs. That's the thing, and it's kind of and the more you think of it that way, the more it starts to kind of congeal and come together. And I think I was a little harsh on it in my review, but that gets us to, I think, the thing we want to have a quick discussion about was that, is it okay to change your opinion on movies? Because I think a lot of our talkbackers would say no, or would say it was a cop-out. But for me, I mean, a lot of things can influence me not liking a movie or liking a movie too much the first time I see it. It's all a lot of it is mood dependent. Critics are human beings.
What?
Sometimes, yeah, I know. And sometimes we're just plain wrong, or we just, or
I thought you were from Westworld.
Yeah. Or our opinions change, I mean, and that's happened to me a lot. Like, I'm trying to think of, one movie that I reviewed that I was really harsh on was, I remember I destroyed Limitless when it came out. And then I saw it again on Blu-ray a couple years later, and I thought it was perfectly entertaining. Not great, but perfectly like an entertaining film, and I should have given a good review to. And I was just wondering, what was wrong with me when I saw it originally. I must have been really uptight. And, and one of my favorite movies is Blade Runner. But I remember when I bought it when I was 12, I hated it. And then I watched it again when I was 15, and I still hated it, but I respected it. And then I watched it again when I was 18, and I really liked it. And then I watched it again when I was 21, and it was then my favorite movie.
Well, everything that you just said is something that I constantly kind of preach, in that we get so rigid, like with this list culture and all this other stuff of like, oh, well, you said your top 10 was this.
Yeah. Changes.
Like, and all of a sudden you're being held accountable because you had a list, which is purely an opinion list. And you're being, kind of lambasted because, hey, you said this was the number one movie and this was number two. But here's the thing. As you said, we are human beings. And you know what? It's okay to change your fucking mind. Nothing is set in stone it's a movie, for one. It's art, and art is a fluid thing, be it, art that you hang on your wall, art from comic books, or art, movies as art. These things change with you and you with them. I've said this repeatedly, and it's absolutely true, is that you don't have to put your opinion on a film into stone right after watching it, because just what you said, like with Blade Runner, is a perfect example. Like, if you go back and revisit some of the films that you loved as a kid, you're probably not going to love them as much
my
as you do now.
My favorite movie as a 5-year-old was Howard the Duck.
Right, and probably you watch that now and you're like, okay, this is a really terrible.
I look at it,
movie.
it has a certain nostalgia factor for me, I guess.
Exactly, it has the nostalgic factor that you hold on to, but outside of that, you've grown up, you've changed, you've had life experiences, that have informed your values, your morals, your opinion, everything, your taste. Everything changes. You don't come out of the womb and you're just like, hey, this is you. Here's your programming. And this is what you will be from birth till death. That is not the way humanity works. And I think that a lot of times we as like this online culture hold people to a standard that is completely unfair. And we do it to critics too, because a critic may give a score, which I fucking hate scores for that exact reason, as if a score can encapsulate an entire movie. That's bullshit. And I think, we have to allow ourselves to enjoy these films as art and let it move through us and let it, it's going to take shape, and you're going to hate movies and then later love them, and you're going to love movies and later hate them. And I think that we have to allow ourselves that. And I think that you don't get any real enjoyment out of movies if you're constantly fighting over something you don't really believe in, which is a spot on a list. That's fucking asinine.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily that a list or a score, is a huge contributor to that. It's just that you have to take into account when that score was given, when that list was made. And even a matter of days can change, a score or a list. Like, for example, we did our top 5 last year, and I already, someone mentioned in the comments, oh, I'm glad you mentioned Sing Street. And I'm like, you know what? the more I think about it, that was an inspiring film for me, just even as an artist. That, you know what, that is my number one. And it was just a matter of days. So at any time, a list or a score can change.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's the overall point, is that it's a fluid thing. It doesn't have to be, and it doesn't have to stand forever. You see that all, like, the prime argument that people use is like, well, you said this then. And the only thing that you need to say after that is, well, I've changed my mind.
Yeah, exactly.
End of story. Fuck you. I mean, that's really all it comes down to, because it's too much. You're expecting something that is never meant to be. You're never meant to settle on something just from watching a movie.
And if people's opinions don't change, then you know what? If you never change, you're a pretty boring fucking person too. I mean,
absolutely.
And our different experiences in life and our things that we go through kind of change the way we take in certain things. And certain movies have more resonance to you as you get older. I mean,
And with that, I asked us all to kind of come up with some examples, and I'll just go first. Some movies that I hated, or not necessarily hated, but I just didn't like or care for or whatever, or didn't resonate with me, and now I love. Probably the biggest one, which is now one of my all-time favorite films, which I adore, is Dead Poets Society. I remember watching it, and everybody's like, "Oh, you need to watch Dead Poets Society," and I was like, "This wasn't so good. It's kind of boring," and I didn't really get it. Now it's like, I mean,
masterpiece.
At some point, I'm going to be brought to tears, and there's so many parts that just resonate with me, and maybe it's just kind of my outlook on life, but that's changed. When I was younger, when I watched it, I didn't think that way. I didn't really care about the future. I didn't care about the things that they were saying. I hated the poetry, and now it really resonates because I get it.
Sure.
And I think at some point you don't. Another one that this not quite as deep, but I saw Speed Racer at the movies, and I fucking hated it. I just couldn't wait to leave the theater. And since then, I watched it like numerous times on Blu-ray, and I love it. I think it's just a really fun, stylistic, crazy live action adaptation of a cartoon. I think it's totally fun and underrated. The other one, Interstellar. I saw it at the theaters. I did not like it. I didn't really get it. Mm-hmm. I needed to watch it again. The second time I watched it, it was a totally different experience for me. And I think that was because I kind of got over the initial expectation and disappointment, and I was able to kind of watch it without that. Another one that this is kind of a crazy one, and I can't believe I've actually seen it as many times as I did, but I think it's because my kid liked it, was The Last Airbender.
Oh God.
I saw it, and I was like, this is really bad, but I never watched the cartoon, so I had no stake in it. Mm-hmm. But I watched it again, and I was like, this is actually fairly entertaining movie, and I really like James Newton Howard's score in it as well. That could be a big contributing factor, but was not quite the disaster that everybody made it out to be. I think it rode pretty hard because of its deviations from the source, but I didn't have that connection and still don't, so it didn't resonate. And then just a couple movies that I loved and then have since, not so much, I don't hate them now, but I just don't really care for them as much. One of them is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I remember, and I think that is kind of a victim of oversaturation of the character.
100%. That's a much different movie watching it now than it was back then.
Exactly. Like when you first saw it, you're like, oh wow, Johnny Depp is really great. And I think that's his continued presence in that role that's just kind of gotten monotonous. Mm-hmm. It kills going back to revisit the first Pirates.
Yeah.
Because you go watch it and you're like, oh God. Because it's almost like you know what's in store after that.
Yeah.
It's just not original anymore. And the other one is a recent one that's actually was part of one of our questions as well, is Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
I reviewed it and I gave it a 9 on 10.
Yeah.
I would probably give it a 6 or 7 on 10 if I had to give one of those stupid ass scores.
Yeah.
That's probably what I would give it now, because even after when I'd seen it and I gave it a 9 on 10, I was still, because it was so fresh. I mean, I wrote it I wrote the review 2 hours after I'd seen it, because, and that's kind of the nature of our business too, is like, if you see a big movie early and you're able to get the review up, you have to get that review up. That's your job. You have to get it out there. And that was the case with Civil War. And I think that had I gone back and, I actually had time to think about it, even for a little while, I probably would have lowered the score a bit. And maybe not. But I think now it's definitely a much lower on the scale score, because the villain problem I can't get past, the pacing. And I feel like it should have ended with the airport sequence rather than been in the middle, because you end on a very, it goes down after that. Like that never tops that sequence. And I think that's an error.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's as great as everybody's like, this is the greatest superhero ensemble of all time. It's just perfect. It's so great. And I was like, not so much. It's got problems. I turn it to you guys. What do you guys?
What do you think, Sean?
That was actually a really good list, Paul. Like I had my own comments, but I wouldn't let you go on and stuff like that. But of course, I've forgotten them all now. So there's probably, like any of us, I'm sure, there's like a dozen movies I probably see a year where my score kind of fluctuates a little bit, like a few days after. In fact, so many that I couldn't. I have a few examples that I'll bring up, but I couldn't think of a lot. Like, here's a recent example: Rogue One. If you had asked me as soon as Rogue One ended,
of course we're going to Rogue One. Why am I not surprised?
Yeah, well, because it's a recent example. But I would have told you like a 7 or a 6. But the more I thought about it, and then after seeing it a second time, to give it a score, I give it a 4. You know, so
right there with you. We're still team anti-Rogue One on that one.
Rogue One. So
it continues to go downhill. It continues every time I think about it, and I'm trying to because I see people like, oh my god, I'm thinking about it, and I just love it so much. And I'm like, am I a crazy person? And I revisit it, and it just I can't get past it. It just gets worse when I think about it.
That's okay. I got an even more alienating one that I know I'm the only one in on this. I saw Monster Calls. I didn't really care for it.
Yeah, I saw your comments on Facebook, and I cried.
Which is fine. Like, I wanted to give people an idea of where I was coming from, you know, if I accomplished anything. But no one.
But I think that's fair. I think that's fair because hey, it didn't. But again, you may watch a Monster Calls years from now, and it may resonate different with you. And I can tell you, and this is one thing that I want to bring up that I think a lot of times people get pissed off about because they think that I'm trying to, in some way delegitimize how they feel. But the truth is, when you have children, it really affects everything that you watch.
No doubt.
Every single fucking movie you watch from the time that you have a child, if you are somebody that loves and cares for your children, it changes your perspective in every movie. Before I had a kid, I did not cry anywhere near as much in movies. And I'm a big bawling fucking baby because anytime you bring up something that shows the vulnerability of the love that you have for children and the loss that is eventually going to happen, it's a stake in the heart. And I think that's something that resonates. And that's not to in any way say, oh, well, if you don't have kids, you can't get it. But here's the simple fact is that
it's
you don't have that
it's a different
same
perspective that I don't have.
Yeah, exactly. But one day that may change.
Yeah,
and
that's
I'll
a
just
good
give
point.
a real
Like
quick.
one day maybe I'll have the wisdom and tell my kid, hey, this movie is actually overrated as shit. Go ahead and watch it.
Here's a real quick example. So the movie The Road, based on Cormac McCarthy's book. So I watched that movie after I had my kid, and by the last scene at the end has me tears streaming. Just because you can't help but put yourself in that position with your own child. And I remember talking to my brother who did not have a kid at the time. And I remember he goes, and I just watched it and I loved it. It was very recent. He's like, yeah, I just watched The Road, man. That movie was fucking garbage. There's like no action or anything. And I was like, wow, like we did not have the same experience at all. And then
what's funny about that is me and you kind of had the same reaction, except I read that book and saw the movie right after my father had died.
So right, and that's another connection is that you can look at it from a perspective of a father-son or and vice versa. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But in that regard, my brother had he was just like, it was fucking garbage, man. It was like no action. I wanted to be like a bunch of actions. And then he's had a kid and watched it since, and it's totally changed his perspective. So it's just interesting that again, it goes back to the overall point that I was trying to make before is that, and that Chris had made as well, was that as we grow and change in life and have new experiences, we have children or not, everything informs what you're going to think about any movie after every experience in your life. You can't avoid it. It's just the way it goes.
Absolutely.
One for me was when I was younger, I guess around the time I was 18, 19, if you had asked me what my favorite movie was, I would have told you it was Fight Club. And I still like Fight Club. I'm not knocking Fight Club. Yeah. Fight Club's a good movie, but I don't respond to it in anywhere near the same way, 17 years later than I did back then. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's a young man's movie.
It really is.
It's not really an adult. It's not an adult is not going to look at it the same way. I see a lot of things about that I just don't respond to as much as I did back then. I still like it, but it's just, it was once my favorite movie, and
that
now
was
it's not even
point
close.
Because I haven't seen it in
Yeah,
Years.
I haven't watched it in a
So
while.
never?
I haven't watched it in about 5 years, but I remember last time I watched it, it was kind of like, oh yeah, no, I responded to it completely differently. And I lived,
I still love it, but
yeah, I do too.
I agree.
I
was the same way, man. I'm pretty sure I said that Fight Club was my favorite movie at some point too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's totally changed. Like, and I think a part of it was that you're putting yourself into Fight Club. You're like, how would I do in Fight Club? And I think as you get older, you're like,
I don't care.
Fuck that. I wouldn't go to no fucking Fight Club.
Yeah.
I want to get beat the fuck up. I'm good.
And
That
it's not
reminds
only
me
that,
of
but
one of the examples I was going to bring up, which I just watched these two movies yesterday because the girl I'm dating hadn't seen either of them, and they're always compared, which is Alien and Aliens.
Yeah.
And it always
That's a big
seems
one.
to be like, are
What's
you
your
an
favorite
alien
of
or
the two?
aliens
Yeah.
kind of person? And as a kid, like I liked them both, but I'm like, Alien is so slow and stuff like that, and Aliens has all the action.
Yeah.
And in watching it last night, I'm like, God, you know what? There are more effects that hold up better in Alien than Aliens, and I appreciate more things in that first movie. Like if I love them both, but if I had to pick like a winner right now, it would be Alien.
Yeah, I'd pick Alien as well.
Cinematography, the sound design. I mean, just it's so well crafted.
It's very close for me, but I would choose Alien as well. But it's very close.
I would actually choose Aliens, but I do agree I think they're both great films.
They're
very
close.
different films, though.
Pretty close.
But I appreciate the action quotient of Aliens, and so highly quotable. And
Well,
I think it's actually one of James Cameron's entire resume. I would think Aliens is my favorite of films.
It's just below T2 for me. Just
funny about Aliens. It's actually I would rate a few Jim Cameron movies higher than that, but it's it doesn't have as much action as you might remember or think. At least
I watch it like every year, and I love it every time. I love it.
And there's kind of 3 set pieces in it, and I actually don't like the extended cut, so I don't watch that.
Yeah, I prefer the theatrical as well.
It's way too long.
The extended is too.
Yeah, I agree. You don't need the extended.
It's like the turret guns were cool, but like it goes on way too long.
Yeah, they just they didn't need to go into new.
But just to say one example that like a love-hate example, because it's the go-to I always go to. The go-to, yeah.
The go-to I always go to.
I know language things. The one movie that I hated,
pretty.
and I saw it like a couple days later and loved it after that when it first came out, was Moulin Rouge, actually. But Baz Luhrmann, he's got a style that's very in your face. It's very kinetic. It's his semblance is like.
I really didn't care for Great Gatsby at all.
I didn't care for that one either. But
but it was Tobey Maguire's performance that ruined Great Gatsby for me, though. I thought he just didn't know how to act in a Baz Luhrmann movie.
He's very wooden.
Does anybody?
Yeah, I mean, yes.
They're like, just be very animated and crazy, like you're at a musical stage.
Yeah.
Also, snort this crack real quick.
Exactly, but it's like he's like no take is a bad take, kind of guy. So he throws it all in there, and it's overwhelming sometimes. And I don't love all of his movies, but I do love that one actually, and I totally turned coat on that. So.
It's funny for me. One that really stands out is when I was a teenager. I remember watching Boogie Nights when it showed on the Canadian HBO TMN one night, and I remember kind of going in and out of it, kind of like, this is okay, whatever. I was mainly watching it for the nudity. Then
he's watching with his pants down. Let's be honest.
Yeah. I was a 15-year-old boy, no, but I was mainly watching it just to see, like, because it was bad, it was the big sex movie, But then a couple of months later, I happened to be flicking the channels around, and there was a scene that came up. It was the part when Buck, when Buck goes in to buy donuts for his pregnant wife.
Oh yeah,
and then the guy holds it up and he shoots the guy and he takes the money, and I was like, oh fuck, this is a great scene. Yeah, and I think it was one of the ones that I missed originally or something that I just didn't hit me that way, and I was like, I really need to watch this movie again, and then I taped it, and then I went back in the VHS days, guys, and I watched it again. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is actually a really good movie. And I started rewatching parts of it over and over again. Just the craft of it got to me. And now I would say that, like, especially the Sister Christian part, I just started to really get blown away by how well made it was. And within a year, it was one of my favorite movies, and I was waiting for Magnolia, and I would still say, like, for me, Boogie Nights is probably in my top 5 movies ever. I love that.
I think Boogie Nights is Paul Thomas Anderson's best.
I think so too. I would.
He's not topped it since.
I agree, and I miss that Paul Thomas Anderson. I still like him a lot.
I agree,
It was
but I'm also
refined.
not a big
It was-
PTA fan. So
See, I'm not a huge. I don't swear by PTA.
I like him a lot. I like him a lot,
You can't do
but
wrong.
but
I'm like,
I like
don't
him
know
a
about
lot.
that.
But I miss the Boogie Nights Magnolia Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yes, I saw Boogie Nights in the theater, and there was 2 old ladies in there and me. That's it. And I remember I was
fucked
like,
both of them.
I fucked both of them while we were watching the movie, and got them pregnant, and they were 70 years old. So I have some really weird children out there somewhere. But no, I remember watching it, and I was enamored.
Yeah,
like
it's an
I
amazing
absolutely loved watching that movie. I mean, I was like so amazed. I was like, it felt like a Scorsese movie.
Yes.
And I remember walking out of that theater, and I was like, I was buzzing, man. I was like, that is just great fucking filmmaking.
God,
Like, it was so good.
I so wish I had seen
And
that in theaters too.
I
That's
had
the
nobody
thing.
to talk to about it. It was so depressing, and I was like, just those 2 old ladies, and I could hear them giggling from time to time, and I was like, okay, they probably don't know what the fuck they're
I
seeing.
sure wish I'd seen it in theaters.
I remember walking out of True Romance, not walking out, but after it was over, and there was 2 old people that had gone to see it, and I don't think you look at the poster for True Romance. If you just go to the theater to go see it, and you don't, you're like, oh, it looks like a fun little caper.
Yeah. My parents
It's like
rented.
these 2 old people went in.
My parents
They
rented.
were walking out of the theater. They were like shaking their heads, like visibly upset and kind of angry that they just seen that movie.
That poster
I
is
just thought it was
so
so
misleading
funny.
that my parents rented it for us on Christmas Eve when I was like 11. It was our Christmas movie.
That's awesome. My grandparents, who are now deceased, were the coolest.
Yeah.
They took me to see fucking RoboCop.
Yeah.
At the summer. They took me to see Die Hard. They took me to see everything.
Well, my parents were
I mean,
fine with True Romance. They were like, "Oh, okay, it's not what we thought it was. Still a good movie, though." Yeah.
yeah, my dad was
too
that
much
way.
swearing for my
Yeah.
little Christopher.
No, they were fine with it. They were like, "He's a big boy."
My dad worked for a radio station, and he would get like promo tickets all the time. So I'll never forget my cinematic awakening in 1991 when we went to go to Disney, and it was just pouring rain. So he took us to theater to see Terminator 2.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I fucking cried like a bitch at the end because I loved Arnold at that time. But
Me
that's
too,
where my,
Arnold was my guy.
cinematic timeline begins. It's like, oh, what year were you born? Oh, that's like 3 years after Terminator 2. Like,
Yeah.
that's how I measure things.
I remember I had to sneak into Terminator 2. We bought tickets for Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Because that's when they were like really strict about, like your age and
Yeah.
everything. We bought tickets to Robin Hood and snuck into Terminator 2.
Nice.
And fortunately, they did not come and grab us. But
It's funny though, talking about going back
Living
to our subject
dangerously.
though for one more, there's one that really sticks out to me is American Beauty. When I saw that in 99, early 2000, I thought it was a masterpiece. I watched it again 15 years later, and the attitudes have changed so much that things that seemed like they were really provocative back then feel so phony now.
yeah,
And it's a
man,
movie that's
I
really
hate
aged.
to agree with you
Yeah,
on that because
it's-
I love American Beauty
Yeah.
and I still love it, but I can't. I have to agree with you
It's-
because it's so true.
It's very dated. Very dated.
It is. It's very unfortunate.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen it.
I think
I haven't seen it since it was released. I
Oh,
loved
yeah.
it when it came out.
I even saw
I did
them.
too, and I still love it to a point.
Yeah,
And,
me
again,
too.
You have that nostalgic factor, but I agree with you. There's like so much that's kind of like, I think phony is the right word because I think that's like Alan Ball tackles on a lot of the kind of topics.
Yeah.
Like the infidelity, and then like the Kevin Spacey's character being enamored with the girl and everything, and
Well,
and then,
and
like, of course, the
homosexuality.
standard like.
But it's just not a big deal now. But back then it was
Right.
considered something completely different, and it's weird.
Yeah,
But it's a lot of it too is very stereotypical.
Oh, yeah.
in that sense as well, and it's almost like you look at it and kind of like, if you made this today, I don't know that it would have the same resonance. I think a lot of people would look at it and kind of call it out for that.
Well, here's something interesting. I saw a couple of years ago at TIFF, Jason Reitman does those live read-along things.
Yeah.
Live readings.
Yeah.
I saw one for American Beauty that he did at TIFF back in like 2013 or something like that, and it was Bryan Cranston as Lester Burnham as the Kevin Spacey part. It was Christina Hendricks in the Annette Bening part. Sarah Gadon in the Mina Suvari part, and Mae Whitman in the Thora Birch part, and Adam Driver in the Wes Bentley part. And
that's pretty good. It's a pretty good cast.
Yeah, it was a great cast, but it was just
It's a good cast for it.
But you just heard them say the dialogue, and it was just it is
Kind of
aged.
grating,
It
yeah.
is aged, and it seemed so phony. It seemed really phony.
Damn, I hate to agree with you on that, but I do.
But for what it was when it was out, it's a great film. But it's just not one that has aged well, and that happens a lot. There are a lot of movies that were great for a time, but just don't hold up particularly well. And American Beauty is a movie to me that does not hold up well. But it's a fascinating movie to watch because it's very evocative of its time.
It's a well-made film.
Yeah, and it's very evocative of its time. So
with that, and just to wrap up, I think the overall thing is, you don't have to settle on an opinion and leave it as such. It's okay to change your mind. You should change your mind. You should revisit these films that you love now, and don't fall in love with trying to fight for an order or to fight for a film that you may have loved and you don't love anymore. It's okay to admit and to say, hey, I don't really like that anymore. You can change your mind.
10 years later, you may love it again.
Yeah, it's true. Shit. 10 years from now, we may be saying American Beauty, we were wrong.
Yep.
It was a masterpiece.
Maybe.
It's okay to be wrong. I think that's one of the biggest things. We view like changing our opinion as being wrong, but that's not what it is. Your opinion just changed. That's all it is.
I'm looking
You're
forward
not wrong.
to the
You're not
episode
right.
when you guys go into about how much you regret your Rogue One cruelty.
I just don't see how that's going to happen
probably not.
because unless they're going to somehow like create characters that I give a shit about that actually have some kind of personality or charisma, or actually make a story that actually makes sense, that's not going to happen.
Well, there's two interesting things at play. Not only is it our changing opinions that are forever changing, but also the times, as Chris mentioned with American Beauty, like time really changed that movie. So yes. I guess not only you have to take into account your perspective, but also the era in which that film was made, the time, what was going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very true. Very true. Good point. Okay, so with that, Sean, do you want to take us into questions, and we'll put this puppy to rest?
Yeah, let's get into some reader questions. We got Classy Ulysses on YouTube says, "What's up, guys?"
What's up, Classy Ulysses?
What's up, Classy?
His question is nothing movie related, but wants to know what is our New Year's resolutions.
Chris?
Wear
more toupees.
No. Mine on a personal level is that I have I've always had kind of a problem with anxiety issues. I get panic attacks and anxiety issues sometimes, and my thing is, I guess on a very personal note, is just to try and enjoy life more, I guess, and to deal with whatever insanity I have in me, I guess, because I've got a lot. I think that's maybe the artistic temperament or something, that or a guy who reviews movies for a living. I don't know. It's just one of my jobs, but I don't know. I just deal with some personal problems and try to enjoy life more. And I think that a lot of people aren't as nice to themselves as maybe they should be. And I think maybe my resolution this year is to be nicer to myself, I guess.
All right, so Chris is going to spend a lot of time masturbating. Sean, what is
with
your
lots
New
of
Year's
nice
resolution?
warming lotions?
Nice. He's got that clip of Tom Cruise interview, over and over.
Yeah, oh boy,
you're the greatest. Oh, you sure are, Tom.
Jesus Christ.
Oh man, that was.
Did somebody just commit suicide? Did somebody just die on air?
That's a hard act to follow.
Our first ever death on the podcast. You heard it here first.
Oh, he bumbrayed himself into oblivion. It was sad.
God damn.
I don't do New Year's resolutions. There's nothing wrong with a yearly reminder of like, hey, this is what I want to change about my life or myself. But the thing I don't like about that is that's something you should keep in mind every day.
Yes.
And that's something I try to do. In fact, I try to do something that kind of reminds myself that all the time I'm in control of where my life is headed. And it sounds silly, but it's very easy to get stuck in just kind of a loop, if you will. You get stuck, you get comfortable doing the same thing, whether it be a job or where you live or even a relationship. So I don't do New Year's resolutions, but I do try to remind myself on a very daily basis that like, hey, you know what, I can do whatever I want. And whether that's something small, like I've done this before. I haven't done it with JoBlo, of course, but like I've been at jobs where I'm like, I'm calling off today. I'm going to go do this simply because I want to. And I want to remind myself that I can do whatever I want. It's my life, and do whatever.
and it's good to be
miss those days.
responsible. Well, but you have to keep in mind though, also, you are responsible in the end for yourself. You are. And you can't.
Oh yeah,
blame,
absolutely. I'm not saying do whatever. I don't want somebody to go out and be like, "I am going to rape that person I thought about raping."
But you are responsible for yourself.
Oh
but
God.
Just on a more general.
That's like the worst case scenario.
Jesus
Because
Christ!
Sean Wist on the JoBlo podcast said so.
But just on a general
let's keep it within
though,
reason. Don't be assholes here. But hey, listen, like you are in control of your life. It doesn't have to be like just end of the year. Oh, this is what I want to do. I want to drop those, 20 pounds, or I want to really go for this. Just fucking do it. There's nothing stopping you.
And also, you're responsible for your own happiness. And if your life isn't going the way that you want it to be, you're responsible for that, and you're the one who needs to change things.
And if you act now and send us $9.99 a month, we will continue to tell you how you can make your life better. We'll
send out cassette tapes.
We will send you a cassette tape.
I have this system.
It will be
it's called
blank,
the
but it will
Bumbray
be a cassette
method.
tape.
The bum method. BUM.
The bum method. I think we know what that is,
Better understanding
Chris.
of myself. The bum method. B.U.M. Better understanding of myself.
Shut the fuck up.
So what's your new resolution, Paul? To be nicer to
I'm like Sean. It's funny. I was just lecturing my kid. My kid he's got just a mountain of lectures as a 7-year-old from me, where I was like telling him how arbitrary New Year's resolutions are, because why would everything hinge on an annual basis? You could start to do something new and improve something or whatever the case may be at any fucking time. And that's what you should do. But I think people actually put off doing things like, well, I'm waiting until the first of the year. It's like, why?
That's stupid.
It's October. You're like, yeah, but I like to do like the New Year's. And really, it kind of turns into an excuse not to do what you need to do now.
Yeah, I agree.
But one of my goals, that is a continuing goal that's been continuing since last year, is I am working very hard to get in the best shape of my life. I work out regularly. I was very sick in November and December, like probably the sickest I've ever been. And I'm finally over it, and I'm back to the gym. And my goal is a continuing goal, is just to continue to refine my fitness and get into not just good shape, but outstanding shape. I also want to move up 2 belt levels in my karate.
And to be nicer to that.
Those are my goals.
And to be nicer to that nice Chris Bumbray boy.
And to be nicer to Chris Bumbray.
Yeah,
sure.
So there you go, Classy. Instead of doing a New Year's resolution, why don't you just do a New Year's evaluation, see where you're at, and then always try to improve whatever the fuck you want.
The Wist method. Wise,
well, I think he was just
intelligent,
asking us, though.
Sexual, thorough.
Nothing against you. We appreciate the question, Ulysses.
No, fuck you, Classy. No, I'm kidding. Classy also is responsible for our next question. He said, Paul touched upon this earlier, but Classy says, I recently watched Civil War on Netflix, and I don't know why people hate on Batman versus Superman so much.
I agree.
But people love Civil War, even though they're kind of the same movie with some of the same problems. What do you guys think?
I think Civil War for me is fan service defined, right? I think the Marvel fans, they had a bunch of things they wanted to see in Civil War, and Marvel just gave them exactly what they wanted. But I don't think it added up to a very interesting movie. I think it added up to a fun movie. I think it was fan service.
The spectacle was great.
Yeah.
The spectacle of Civil War was great, but the story,
I
think if you really go back and look at it, it's not so hot. And Mark Millar was talking about it, who wrote the original Civil War comic, and it's a very different tale.
Yeah, but whereas Batman v Superman, that was a very different take, and it took a real risk, I think. And regardless of whether you think it paid off or not, it was bold. And that's what I liked about it.
I think BVS is going to continue to be more appreciated over time. I think
too.
I think BVS is a good example of one of those movies that people will hate initially, and over time they'll revisit and be like, you know what? Actually, I really love this movie. And I think a lot of people will stand by that with the extended cut, because the extended cut is what Snyder initially sent to the studio before they kind of got cold feet, and they're like, oh, we need to chop this down. We can't release it this long.
And that's what I even wrote something along those lines in my Good, Bad, and the Badass this week for Ben Affleck. Yeah. I think that
BVS will be more appreciated and Civil War will be less appreciated over time. That's my theory.
How about you, Sean?
No, I don't think so. I'm not a huge fan of either, but I think Civil War knows what it wants to do and has more fun with it. Batman versus Superman, the extended cut, I think it explains a little bit more, but I don't think it makes the movie necessarily better. But either one, like they're both okay. They both have the same major problem for me, which is I don't believe that these two heroes would be fighting each other. Like if they just sat there and be like, wait a minute, oh, they're trying to get us to fight, let's not do that. But whatever. Anyway, we'll move on to the last question from our man Corey, who says, at this point, should Disney just put out all of their Star Wars movies in December? It seems like from a box office standpoint, the right thing to do. Simple answer, yes.
Yeah, I agree. I like having a Star Wars movie at Christmas. It's kind of nice because it's a family movie, and it's a family movie, so it's a good one that everybody can go see. So
and from a merchandise standpoint, you can sell more shit right before Christmas.
It makes sense.
What I'd like to not see is them extending. They're like, oh, Rogue One is a huge fucking success. Let's see if we can pump more out. I think then you're going to really get into that oversaturation of the market, and I think that it's going to really lessen the impact of an annual
Keep
Star Wars
it to
movie.
one a year.
If you start doing more than one Star Wars movie a year, I think you're going to start. Fatigue will definitely settle in. I think some people will be like, fuck you, man, that's great. I'll watch them all. I'm like, yeah, I will too, but it's just not gonna have the same resonance. So personally, as a fan, I can certainly wait 365 days for a new Star Wars movie per year, and I think that would really help continue to have me excited and build that hype rather than I got a new one in 6 months, whatever.
I agree. And of course I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and I want to see more. I didn't like Rogue One, but I still want to see more Star Wars stories. But I think it's a really smart idea right now to limit one a year and build that hype. Whereas even Marvel movies, you get a couple a year. It's like, all right, well, we'll see what this one is. Could you imagine them doing like one a year and like kind of building it up each time or something like that? That would be cooler. But hopefully.
I mean, we got 3 this year.
Yeah. So like, obviously they're getting together this month to plan a lot of things, Lucasfilm Creative. And I'm sure we're going to hear any day now that, the Han Solo flick will be moved to December, and same with Episode 9. That's going to be moved to December.
Why wouldn't they? I would too. I think they've got a good thing going, so they're going to let it ride for a while. Why not?
Absolutely. I like having Star Wars month be December.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be May. Fuck that.
No,
it's fine.
It's a lot. There you go. There's enough coming out in May.
And I'll tell you, the only thing I want to hear from Lucasfilm is that a goddamn standalone Obi-Wan movie starring Ewan McGregor is greenlit.
It's going to happen. You heard it here first from a source.
I think that Lucasfilm is going to give you guys a call after hearing your criticisms of
Mr.
Rogue One. I think that you and Sean, that Paul and Sean are going to be summoned to the ranch, and
okay,
oh yeah,
you're going to have to give your notes.
I'll do a better job than what fucking they did.
And they'd be like, "You guys sound like you know what you're talking about.
Me.
Why don't you write our next Star Wars film?"
The Wist and Shirey pass. Before it goes, every film gets that.
Hey, look, you know what? I would take full responsibility if I turned in a piece of shit and people called me out and they said, "Hey, look, this is what's wrong. This is wrong. This is wrong." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right. It's cool. I'm not gonna try and defend something that's wrong, but I can tell you just from a basic standpoint, without even, you don't even have to be a screenwriter to look at some of the mistakes they made there, or rather the mistakes they made in editing and putting it together.
And
because I think there may have been a cohesive film in there somewhere that the screenwriters put together, but the fucking filmmaking by committee really chopped that into something that was just, distracting you with explosions.
Can I tell you something though? What you just said about
there was an actual story going on.
What you just said about the Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, I think Ewan McGregor would still be great as Obi-Wan Kenobi. There is one actor though.
Perfect.
There is one actor I think would do a better job as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No, Don Johnson would not do a better job.
Don Johnson. That's right.
Hey.
All right, and to wrap up our viewer questions, this isn't a question, it's more of a comment. Slimy Candy on YouTube said, "Hey," so hi.
Hey,
and that's
Slimy.
it for this week's
Candy.
viewer questions.
I don't like Slimy Candy.
But for anyone that's
Candy.
listening, feel free to
candy,
comment.
not the guy.
Let us know what you think, or if you have any questions, they don't have to be movie related. Just feel free to ask us. We might read them on the air and answer them as well.
If you're lucky. Yep. You got it. So, you guys can check us out every day at JoBlo.com for all your news, reviews, interviews, exclusives, and more. Also, check out our YouTube channel to get all the latest trailers, featurettes, interviews, and exclusive content like this show right here. and we're happy to have you. And again, we thank you genuinely for joining us and listening to us. We hope you get some enjoyment out of it. And please, by all means, leave us your comments. We would love a review on iTunes. That helps keep us going, helps our numbers and everything, and helps us continue to do the show. So thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Ah!